Hi, everyone. I am so glad you could join us this morning. My name is Ursula McCarthy. I am the program manager here in Kansas City for the Hiring Our Heroes Fellowship. I want to welcome you to our graduation ceremony this morning. I'd like to welcome some special guests today. Mr. Joe Driscoll. He is the military advocate, excuse me, for the state of Missouri. Excuse me. I'd also like to welcome Colonel Harry Hung, who is the Fort Leavenworth Garrison Commander, members of the Greater Kansas City Chamber, our host companies, thank you for coming, our fellows, their family members, our community partners, and our guests. Thank you all for coming, really, and helping us celebrate this time. I'd like to also thank our sponsors, Waddell and Reed, Spire, and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City. These events couldn't happen without their support, and we really just appreciate it so much. I'd also like to give special thanks to the Chamber staff and just the effort that they have put into making this program come alive. They have just been a huge support over the last few years, and we appreciate them so much. I'd also like to thank Brett Rosine. He is the transition service manager out at Fort Leavenworth. He has embraced the HOH program, and he has really helped ground it in the city of Kansas City as well. And then again, I'd like to thank the Greater Kansas City Chamber and Military Affairs Committee. They also have just been a huge support of the Hiring Our Heroes program. They have helped spread the word to the businesses and have really helped me launch a great program here. Now I would like to introduce the Garrison Commander, Colonel Harry Hung. He is the city manager, basically, out at Fort Leavenworth. Please welcome him.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Driscoll, graduates, family and friends, thank you for being here to witness the graduation of the Hiring Our Heroes Corporate Fellowship Program. Hiring Our Heroes is part of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation and has been a great addition to our Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program here at Fort Leavenworth. The Corporate Fellowship Program is a 12-week program that affords an opportunity to service members who are within 180 days of separating or retiring for military service to work within corporations that are looking for expertise at the mid to senior levels. This fellowship is a mutually beneficial program. Our transitioning soldiers get a challenging opportunity to immerse themselves in the civilian corporate culture, and businesses are able to receive and assess highly experienced professionals. This is the fourth year the Corporate Fellowship Program has been here on Fort Leavenworth. Last year, we had a total of 57 service members completing the program with a 96% offer rate within 90 days of the program completion. And out of the 57 graduates, 49 stayed in the Greater Kansas City area. Today, we have 16 fellows with 10 different corporations that participated in this class. These graduates are currently in the process of finalizing their interviews and offers. Congratulations to you all. Dedication and hard work pays off. And best of luck to you as you transition out of the military and onto your new adventure.
Well, good morning to everyone. Thanks to Colonel Hung for his introduction. I'm Joe Driscoll, Missouri's military advocate, and I also want to give my thanks to the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce for hosting this virtual event today and for its partnership with the U.S. Chamber and its Hiring Our Heroes program here in the Kansas City region. The Chamber and its Military Affairs Committee recognize the urgency of supporting new ways to attract and keep transitioning service members and their families in the region. And judging from the success of your fellowships and those before you, I think we chose well in supporting your work. To Ursula McCarthy and the Hiring Our Heroes team, you provide a tremendous value to the region And for that, I'm sure we all say thank you. The corporate fellowships you arranged and supported made it possible for us to be here this morning and to have this opportunity to salute these fine graduates and recognize the potential that they do represent. It's an honor for me to address you at this third and final class of fellows for 2020. To you graduates, we're glad you chose to connect with the host employers in the region and hope the experience that you gained there will help you and your families in the next phase of your lives. I want to talk briefly this morning about why the fellowships you are just completing are not only important for you, but also important for all of us in the Kansas City region. And at the risk of sounding like a salesman, we hope that you not only will choose to live and work here, but that you will also choose to be an ambassador for others who are about to make a choice on what they want to do after they leave the military. You know, we definitely live in strange and difficult times with the pandemic, and we need to keep a distance between us. I think back to the graduation 1 year ago this month in Union Station when hundreds of graduates, corporate sponsors, and civic leaders got together with my boss, Missouri Governor Mike Parson, to celebrate what was then the final class of 2019. Times have changed. As he said then, and is still true today, we first and foremost thank all of you who are becoming veterans for your service to your country and to your fellow citizens in the communities of the region. Our country and states are far better places because of the sacrifices you and your families have made. This year, certainly a different environment compared to last, but one of the things that's not changed is how much this Kansas City region and our two states need you graduates and people like you. You're important to the region because, simply put, you bring skills that many of our companies and other employers are looking for. It's true that the pandemic has decreased demand for many of the kinds of jobs that you fill, but we will certainly return to normal times soon. I hope you heard this from your host companies, but I'll repeat it anyway. The skills you learned in the military are exactly the skills that align with current business needs across Missouri and Kansas, and especially here in the Kansas City region. Almost anyone can learn technical skills, but what you've learned during your military service are some of the most difficult attributes to find in the workplace today. You're agile and adaptive, skills that are particularly important in an environment where business competition is so keen and a company can literally go out of business in a day or be wildly successful because of a single decision. You're team players, a learned skill that is needed by any elite organization to accomplish a mission, often placing the greater good of the team's success over your own individual goals. But you're also leaders who are able to understand and support what the organization is trying to achieve, have a vision for what right looks like, and motivate those around you to accomplish shared goals. You are problem solvers who are able to take into account the complexity of the world around you, apply your training and experience, and find a solution that accomplishes the mission. And perhaps most importantly, you understand trust and integrity are the threads that bind everything together in an organization. Trust comes from being placed in situations of great responsibility for missions and often for one another's lives. Integrity means you live in accordance with your values and you keep your word. You are also important for the Kansas City region because your choice to live here makes our communities more resilient and better places to live for all of us. You know, the state of Missouri is a veteran-friendly state, and we are home to over about 480,000 veterans. And all the measures we look at tell us that our veterans, particularly those who have recently separated from the military, are increasingly in positions of leadership across our state, including here in Kansas City. We see veterans taking on volunteer roles in organizations like the Mission Continues or Veterans Community Project here in Kansas City that is providing safe and respectful environments for veterans who need compassionate support services. We also see veterans getting involved in local governments and school districts and running for the state legislature and other offices. We know that communities are growing stronger because veterans are finding new ways to apply their skills and leadership here at home. And we see veterans giving back to their communities by becoming engaged citizens that empowers them to serve in new ways, solve tough challenges, and mobilize communities to serve alongside them. And it goes without saying, our states and communities are more patriotic and supportive of our way of life because of the veterans who live here. Finally, if you accept the proposition that veterans have opportunities here in the Kansas City region and that collectively they are making this a better and more equitable place to live, tell a buddy who's still serving that this would be a great region for them to check out as they decide where to live and possibly work when they take off the uniform. It's true that we do not have some of the amenities that other regions have. We don't have mountains or beaches, and it gets cold in the winter and hot in the summer, but we have some things that other areas don't. We have opportunities that are among the best in the country for good jobs in solid and growing companies that appreciate the skills you bring, and a quality of life that's among the best in the country. From barbecue to the arts to championship sports, we think this Kansas City region is one of the best places not only to work, but also to live and raise a family. And if you'll bear with me just a second, I want you to listen to some of the top spots the Kansas City region ranks in 2020. A top 10 city in the most surprising cities in the country for quality of life and amenities, one of the best business climates in the nation, #1 city for remote workers, #2 ranking as a great American city for creatives, a top mid-sized city for new business projects, #11 in the country for best cities for new jobs in 2020, and one of my all-time favorites as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, go Chiefs, #3 among NFL stadiums for atmosphere, features, traditions, tailgating, location cost, and history, and Arrowhead Stadium ranked #1 in tailgating. Well, I've come to the end of my time, and I'd like to thank all the companies for your support of hiring our heroes, and to everyone involved in the program. The work you're doing deserves special recognition, and you should be proud of the role you're playing to help our veterans, the military, and our region. And I want to congratulate again all the graduates we're recognizing today. We can never repay you adequately for the sacrifices you've made, but you'll continue to do everything you can to ensure you and your families have a smooth and successful transition to civilian life. And we hope you'll choose to live and work here in this region and to be ambassadors for others. Congratulations on the accomplishment, and thank you again for your service and allowing me to be here today. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Fran Oling, class speaker, and I have served my fellowship with the Kansas Attorney General's office. Thank you, Mr. Driscoll and Colonel Hung, for your inspirational words on this day that we celebrate our graduation from our Hiring Our Heroes Fellowship. Thank you to the Kansas City Chamber of Commerce and to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation for making it possible for all of us to serve in this fellowship program. We really appreciate it. I specifically would like to thank the Kansas Attorney General, Derek Schmidt, and the administration of his office, specifically my boss, Athena Adea, and all of my co-workers at the Attorney General's office. I'm looking very much forward to working with them when I transition in January. I would also like to publicly thank Ursula McCarthy for all of her support to all of us in the Kansas City Fellowship. She works really hard for all of us to get us placed in fellowship corporations and also to help us all gain employment. And she's really an unsung hero. She takes our texts and our calls and our frantic emails, and I want to publicly thank her. Thanks for all you do, Ursula. For my classmates, if you're wondering how I got to be valedictorian, first of all, I think valedictorian is a bit generous. I think it's just class speaker. Second of all, I have no idea. I think probably it's because I have as many years in service as anyone, by almost a decade. And second of all, remember we had 2 assignments. We had to show up. We had to show up to our fellowship. We had to do our best. We had to show up on Fridays. And we had to communicate with Ursula. Well, I took the communication with Ursula really seriously. Like if she changes her cell phone number after Friday, you all will know why. So that's probably why I was chosen. And my benefit to communicating with Ursula is that I get to address you all now. So I'd like to talk a little bit about our group because we are really interesting. The average years that our class served in the military was just over 21. The longest person serving was 31 years, and the person with the fewest years was 6 years. Now, I would like to make a joke about how most of us own military equipment older than 6 years, but the truth is 6 years serving your country is a real honor, and it's a long time. And it's a real benefit to our country that anyone would take 6 years out of your life, put your life really on hold, and do whatever this country asked of you. And we are grateful to everyone who has served any amount of time in the military. And we all know the sacrifices that it puts on yourself and onto your family. So we are really grateful to everyone who has served, and now we are glad that we all get to do the fellowship. Now, speaking of infantry and service, our group had 3 infantry soldiers in our cohort, as well as an F-18 Navy Wizzo. Now, for those of you who are in the Army and maybe don't know what a Wizzo is, I was in the Air Force, so I'll help you out. A Wizzo is a weapons systems officer, and it's the person who sits in the back of the airplane, kind of like Goose on Top Gun, and they control the weapon system. So that's really interesting. Also, our cohort didn't just have Army folks in it. I'm Air Force. We had one other Air Force person, and we had a Navy officer, which I think is really interesting. We had 3 services. We had ranks from enlisted E5 to officer 05. We had folks who were trained in the civilian world as a minister and to an attorney. We had, as Colonel Hung said, 10 different corporations or agencies with our 16 fellows. Now, every valedictorian has to give some sort of inspirational vision to the graduates. So here's mine. Maybe this wasn't the best year of your life. 2020 hasn't been penned as the greatest year ever. We had some setbacks. Global pandemic kind of affected all of us. But we need to focus on not what we lost, what we didn't get to do, but what we've gained. And no, I don't mean the weight that we all gained, because we know we don't have to take another PT test. Specifically for today, I mean what we gained out of our fellowship time. We gained training, experience, and learned so much from being able to be immersed in a corporate culture and learn from our fellow coworkers. Military members, I hate to say military members are anything, because we are so diverse and we are so different. After years and decades sometimes of learning and being immersed in a culture that requires you to adhere to a certain set of values and a similar code of ethics, we do understandably, though, have a lot of similar characteristics. And Mr. Driscoll explained a lot of those, that we're agile, adaptive, that we are problem solvers, that we like to find solutions. And our group is no different in that area. And yet, many of us are really looking forward to being civilians again. It is our future. We have embraced it, and we are really excited about it. Now, some of the corporations, we've truly made real contributions at our workplaces from Monday through Thursday. And some of our corporations were really disappointed that on Fridays we weren't going to be at our workplaces. So they're probably wondering, well, what did you do on those Fridays? Why can't you be at our workplaces? You've become a part of our team, and we have things for you to do. We want you to be at our events on Fridays as well. So I'll explain a little bit about what we did on Fridays. Now, during our normal non-2020 global pandemic year, we would have gotten together, gone on tours, gotten to have some camaraderie, maybe gone to lunch, had a tasty beverage after our event. But in 2020, most of our events were on Zoom calls. And that's okay, we still learned. We learned about job search tips. We learned about salary negotiation. We learned about goal setting. What do we want to be when we grow up? What are the important things for us in a workplace? Each person is different. What is important to each person? And just a lot of real life, where do I want to go? We also did networking with each other. We learned about LinkedIn networking and why that's important. Some of us have been out of the job market for many years, haven't had interviews in decades. And so we learned about organizations who specifically work with veterans on practice interviews, and that was super helpful. We had a GroupMe app with a group with just us where we could give each other a hard time and make jokes sometimes at each other's expense. Not that we would ever tease anyone about Fran having more years in service than anyone was on in our group had been on the planet, but sometimes we would make those kinds of jokes and just had some fun and got to know each other as much as we could virtually. So those Friday sessions were really crucial to us being able to round out our work experience with life. Now, if you see any of your employees being confused at the end of the day, it may be because we're looking for our hat. And then we realize we don't have to wear a hat because we're in civilian clothes. And so some of the transitions from military to civilian life, they're real. We're wondering when the retreat of the colors is going to be. And then we realize that we're not on a military installation and there is no retreat of the colors. So some of those transitions, only a person who's been in the military truly understands how long it takes to retrain your brain, some of those things. One of the things we always kid about is, what is the uniform? What is the uniform? What do we wear? We're very, most of us, if we've been in the military very long, we're very used to being told what to wear, being expected. We don't want to be out of uniform. We want to be sure that we are wearing what everyone else is wearing and that we fit in. So the military taught us to work in very tight timelines to push out product very quickly. The military also taught us to work in very dangerous and austere environments, and we're most of us are hoping that we don't have to do that again. So we really have been, as Mr. Driscoll said, very adaptable and very easily working in change. So the last thing I want to talk about is that the military has also taught us that we need to always be educating ourselves. There's lots of required education in the military. We always have to be learning, and that's great for employers because we're used to that. If we don't understand something, we'll ask, we'll read about it, hand us a book, tell us to go to a website, we will learn. Because we've always had to have some sort of what's called professional military education our entire career. So if we don't understand it, we're happy to learn about it. To sum up your comments, this is mostly for the corporate sponsors. To sum up my comments, I'd like to tell you a little story. It's about when I decided that if I were extended an offer at my agency that I would accept. One day, sitting at my desk, I got an email from my boss, and it was just a couple lines, and it specifically said, I want to read it. Fran, please call me after lunch. I want to make sure you have work to complete and that you feel supported. I want your fellowship to be rewarding. Employers, let me tell you, it really doesn't get much better than that. I knew I'd found a place that was looking out for me as a person and an employee. And as the old movie says, you had me at hello, you had me at that email. I enjoy the work, my coworkers are great people, and I'm happy I get to stay. To my cohort fellows, I wish you the best, and I hope you find a supporting, rewarding place to work as well. And I hope that if Ursula calls you or emails you and asks you to help support a fellow, that you will do it. Best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those words, Fran. I really appreciate those. And just to echo some of what Fran said, the great thing about this program is that it really helps the service members transition. It's a mindset, and they get these 12 weeks to start that process. And it is so very, very helpful. So let's get started. The moment you've all been waiting for. What we want to do now is just thank our host companies and congratulate our graduates. And so we are going to start with Wayfair and Courtney Austin. And Courtney Austin was a fellow at Wayfair, and this is Wayfair's first time participating in the fellowship in Kansas City. Wayfair also has hosted 10 other service members, or I'm sorry, a total of 10 service members across the country. Courtney, and again, let's look at what Joe said just about bringing people to Kansas City from other areas. If you take a look at where these graduates are coming from, you will see the majority of them are not from this area. And Courtney is no different. She is actually from South Carolina, and she's in the Army, serving over 19 years in a multitude of positions. And the great thing about the military is I can tell you for each service member, whether they serve 6 years or 30 years, if they served 6 years, they probably had 3 or 4 or 5 different jobs. If they've served 20 years, they probably had 20 different titles. Their experience is so very broad. But let's look at Courtney. So she is a senior non-commissioned officer, and she was a detachment sergeant, program manager, and she is currently working with Wayfair in their talent acquisition and project management role. We are so excited to have her. She was a calming spirit in the program, and I just want to congratulate her and thank her so much for her participation. All right, next, let's get to our next fellow. All right, we have Chris Carpentier. Chris Carpentier did his fellowship with Church and Dwight. And this is Church and Dwight's third fellowship. We are so excited to have them on board and just want to thank them very much for their participation in the program. Chris did his fellowship role as a logistics manager there, and he is originally from Texas. He is planning to stay in the area, as Courtney is as well, and he served over 25 years in service in the Army. So thank you so much for your service, Chris, as well. During his career, he led teams and organizations with security and detention operations, trained, coached, mentored. He did, again, a lot of various roles. So it's very exciting that he has taken a role with Church and Dwight, actually as a logistics manager there. And he is going to be able to utilize his continuous improvement background and leadership skills there at the plant in Missouri. So we are so excited that you have joined us for the fellowship, Chris. Thank you so much. All right, our next graduate. All right, Nate Crane. Nate Crane, I have to say, he was very quiet. He was a quiet one of the bunch. And this has been a great fellowship. Very quiet, professional. Nate Crane grew up as a military brat, and he did his fellowship with Mears Group. And I have to say, with Mears, they are a national sponsor of HOH. So we are just so excited to have them in Kansas City for the first time hosting. They're hosting 5 fellows this cohort, and 4 of which are in the Kansas City area. So we're so excited to have you. Nate has lived all over the place. So while he doesn't really call any particular state home, his wife is from Kansas. And so they have decided to settle here. One interesting personal thing about Nate, and we just have to congratulate him, he and his wife just finalized their adoption of a 4-year-old in August. So congratulations to you and your family. How exciting. Nate's career spans more than 20 years as well, and in the Army. And he did helipad construction, earthquake relief in Pakistan, had some very exciting career opportunities. And again, we just thank Mears for hosting him. And he was able to just really utilize his experience with the Mears Group and has accepted a position with them as well. So thank you so much, Nate, for participating. Our next fellow. All right, our next fellow is Jacob, and he also fellowshipped with Mears Group. Jacob Douglas, I have to say, Jacob, you're kind of the class clown. I will say that. Always making everyone laugh, and just really appreciate the memes, even I don't even know what you call them when you superimpose things on your photo. But thank you so much, Jacob, for just bringing a lot of levity to this class. Jacob was born in Georgia and is third generation military. He's in the Army and served over 20 years. It's great. He and his family have also decided to settle down in Kansas City. Again, you're going to look at Jacob's profile and you see he also had a variety of positions, but his real passion was in leadership and planning. And he is also taken a role with the Mears Group doing training and development for them. So this is right up his alley. So we're excited for him. One of the things I have to say about Jacob, which is a super fun fact, is I also had his wife in the fellowship last year. So we're so glad that they have decided to stay here in Kansas City. Thanks so much for participating, Jacob, and congratulations. All right, then we have Tim Draves. Tim, a lot of fun. He also was with Mears Group. He and Jacob were bantering back and forth quite a bit. That was always a lot of fun. Tim Draves is from Illinois. Woohoo, that's where I'm from. And he is also third generation military. He was in the Army and has spent over 24 years serving. And as you will see, he got to serve in countries like Spain and Germany, Iraq, Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, just really quite a few opportunities for him. Tim was a field artillery officer and also really has a passion for developing leadership, planning, and being a team player. We just thank him so much that he was a great team player in the fellowship. I also just want to say a couple things about him, about his, he values the interpersonal dynamic of the team as he was working with them at Mears Group. And he just constantly commented on what a great experience it was for him. He and his family have also decided to settle down in the Kansas City area, and we are so excited to have you. Thanks so much, Tim. All right, for our next fellow, we have David Hinshaw. And David was with FedEx Ground. This is FedEx Ground's third time participating in the fellowship here in Kansas City. We are very, very happy to have them. FedEx is also a national sponsor for HOH. And David did his role as an operations manager there. I really appreciate David in the fellowship. He really or I should say, he was very vulnerable and open about the transition, which I think that helped right at the beginning because it really helped set the tone for our fellowship and really helped everyone break down some barriers. And so I really appreciate you, David, for that. He is also retiring after 20 years in the service in the Army. And while he was in the military, he served as a correctional non-commissioned officer. He served, while he was at FedEx, he served in the operations, in an operations role. And I know he is hoping to take a position there as well. David is also a third generation service member. Isn't that exciting about how so many of our service members have followed in their parents' and grandparents' footsteps? You will see, he has wonderful support of his family, and he wanted to make special mention of that. And we are so excited to have you in the program, David. Thank you so much. Our next fellow that we want to congratulate is Brian. There you are, Brian. And I just want to thank Brian. Brian is the youngest of the group, and he was teased quite a bit for that. And I just thank him so much because he took it in stride, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun having you in the program, Brian, and you really helped bring a lot of levity to the group as well. This is a really stressful time, so as everybody's transitioning, so I just really appreciate that about you guys doing that. And Brian did his fellowship with Cerner. And Cerner Corporation, as you know, one of the largest employers in the Kansas City area. And Cerner has really been a consistent host company with the fellowship program for the last 4 years. We just appreciate them so much. And they have hired over 22 of the fellows here within that 4-year time frame, probably more than any other host company in the local area. So we appreciate their participation this time as well. You will see that Brian did his fellowship role as a project manager while he was there. And Brian is originally from New Jersey. And we are hoping he ends up staying in the area once he has completed his fellowship. And he conducted his fellowship as also a personnel management in various levels, not only in the military, but also he's helping with some of that with Cerner. And as you will see, he planned and managed the annual certification programs for over 600 personnel out at Fort Riley. That is quite a lot of balls in the air at one time. He is hoping to continue his fellowship and then continue on with a position with Cerner. But you will also notice he also comes from a long line of military service, and his father served in Desert Storm. And so we are very excited to have you in the program, and thank you so much for your participation. Our next fellow is Brian Logan. Brian fellowshipped with American Century, and thank you so much, American Century Investments, because this is your first time hosting in the Kansas City area. Brian did his fellowship role as a project manager. Brian is pretty unique as he was born in Okinawa, Japan, and he grew up in the military brat, living in many different locations, including Illinois, Maryland, Florida, and Missouri. So we're very happy to have you in the program. He is transitioning from the Air Force after 22 years. So congratulations on that. When deciding where to do his internship, Brian wanted to make special mention of American Century Investments, just because he felt like it would provide the greatest challenge and really challenging his knowledge and having to learn some new skills. And that really excited him. And so he was very grateful for that opportunity. So thank you, American Century, for that. Brian has spent the majority of his life in transition, and we are hoping that he ends up staying in the Kansas City area after the fellowship completion. Congratulations, Brian, and thank you. Our next fellow is Fran, and you all heard from Fran. Wave, Fran. Fran did her fellowship with the Kansas Attorney General's office, and we just appreciate them so much for hosting. This is their first time hosting. And her role was special assistant to the Attorney General. And Fran is unique because she has called Kansas her home her entire life. And so thank you so much. And she plans on staying here. She is retiring from the military with 31 years of service. That is quite an accomplishment. Congratulations on that. And you will see her various roles. She was a judge advocate in the Kansas Air National Guard, and she also did logistics. And again, it just shows you just the variety of positions that some of these service members have held. Her final military position was the Director of Strategic Plans and Joint Training for the Kansas National Guard. And I talked to her extensively about just what her role was, because she planned the Kansas Guard's response to COVID-19. And I cannot imagine how busy she was this past year. And she is going to stay busy because she has accepted a role as the Assistant Attorney General, and she will begin that role in January of 2021. So thank you so much for your participation in the program, Fran. We're glad to have you. And thanks for communicating with me. It was a lot of fun. All right, then we have John Papacek. And John did his fellowship with American Century Investments, and he did that as a Director of Threat Intelligence. You will see John is originally from Wisconsin, and John also plans at staying in the Kansas City area after transitioning from the Army. You will see he's got over 21 years of experience. Thank you so much for your service. And he did the majority of his service in the intelligence field. So this is a great transition for him because he'll be able to leverage so many of the skills he learned while he was in the military into his current role. And John is very proud to follow in the footsteps of his family as well. And so we thank you so much for your service and your families as well. And he decided to choose his role in the fellowship because he was really intrigued by the challenge of transformation and feels that he can bring real value to American Century in the transition. And we are hoping he will get to continue to do that after his fellowship. Thank you so much, John. And then we have Scott Savoy. And Scott did his fellowship at Wayfair. Thank you so much, Scott. And thank you so much, Wayfair. Scott did his role as a home delivery terminal manager. And Scott is originally from Louisiana. He currently lives in Platte City, Missouri, and he is also retiring from the Army. Scott has a very, very extensive experience as a logistics manager and supply chain transportation manager while he was in the military. And he was able to really leverage a lot of that experience with Wayfair. Scott is unique. I think he is the only fellow that is planning on relocating from the area when he completes the program. That could be in Texas or it could be out east. We'll see where he ends up, but I know he is hoping to stay with Wayfair upon his completion of the program. One personal note for Scott, very exciting for him and his family, is that he will be welcoming his first child in December. So congratulations to you on that. And congratulations for completing your fellowship with Wayfair. Very excited for you. Our next fellow we want to congratulate is Brad Techmeyer. Brad also did his fellowship with American Century Investments. And he did that as a project manager. And Brad is also from Illinois, and he is transitioning from the Navy after 22 years. Amazing that the level of service that you guys have had in the military. Brad was initially enlisted as a data analyst, and then he got commissioned as an officer, and he went into weapons systems. And you will see that he flew operations in deployments, managed projects, and was also an operational planner. So, and he did that for the Navy, and he also did that at the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College out at Fort Leavenworth. And I know a lot of our people on right now are very familiar with that. He is finishing his fellowship in a project management office with American Century, and he really enjoyed that because he wanted to familiarize himself with the project management agile side of the house with project management. And so we are so excited to have you in the program. And thank you so much, Brad, for your participation. Congratulations. And our next fellow is Rick Vititow. And Rick did his fellowship with Arbor Masters. And thank you so much, Arbor Masters. So this was the first time we've had Arbor Masters. And I have to say, I was so excited to bring Arbor Masters on board because this was such an incredible fit for Rick, just his personality and what he wanted to go do. He definitely didn't want to be sitting behind a desk. And so the fact he is out there, he is so excited to be working for Arbor Masters at the completion of the fellowship program. And he did his fellowship as a branch manager in training. You will see Rick is also from Louisville, Kentucky, and he currently resides in Baser, Kansas. He plans on staying in the Kansas City area as well. And he is transitioning from the Army with 27 years, over 27 years of service. So thank you so much for your service, Rick. You will see he has extensive experience as an infantryman and a chemical officer and an infantry officer. So he has, again, very diverse background in logistics and operations and project management. And you will also see he had 2 years of a chief of staff, as a chief of staff. So again, vast experience that these service members are bringing into the corporate world. Rick's love for the outdoors is really what drove him to do his fellowship with the Arbor Masters. And he really aspires to be, a branch manager. And I'm sorry, I said Kansas City, but he is actually transitioning to the Louisville, Kentucky area in a few years. So we are excited, and thank you so much for you, Rick, and the levity you also brought to the program. Really appreciate you. And we have Rob Whitty. Congratulations, Rob. Rob was also a great part of the group. I thank you so much, and was a quiet professional. He completed his fellowship with the Mears Group. And so again, thank you so much, Mears, for sponsoring so many fellows this cohort. And Rob did his fellowship as a gas pipeline engineer. And Rob is originally from Colorado and currently residing in Missouri, and he plans on staying in the Kansas, Missouri area. And you will see that Rob has over 25 years of experience in the military, in the Army. And so thank you for your service. And he was heavily involved in the military intelligence community. Rob was very excited to be hosted by Mears and to really get back to his chemical and engineering roots. And that is why he took the fellowship there, because he really wanted to leverage that experience and gain that experience. And even though his degree was in engineering, he didn't get to leverage a lot of that experience while he's in the military. So this was great for him to get that opportunity. He looks forward to staying here in the Kansas City area. And we just appreciate you, Rob, and so much that you were able to bring to the fellowship program. Congratulations. All right, and we have Jacob Woods. Thank you, Jacob, for your participation in the fellowship program. His host company was Amazon. Thank you, Amazon. Amazon has hosted over 350 fellows in the last 5 years. That's pretty incredible. They're a national sponsor of HOH as well, and we just appreciate them so much in their commitment not only nationally, but their commitment in the Kansas City area with so many opportunities for our service members in different locations. So thank you, Amazon. Jacob, he served as he served in the Army as well, and he is coming back to Missouri. So he is very excited to be returning home, and he is retiring after 23 years. Congratulations and thank you for your service. As you will see, he started his career in personal services and transferred to the intelligence analysis community. So he also is bringing, what he's bringing to Amazon is that leadership that he was able to do in so many various roles while he was in the military. He also conducted faculty development and a recognition program. And so that was a framework that he was able to develop for soldiers and Army civilians. And you will see he helped them earn badges and get to school and do some of the leadership training that Fran had referred to that they need to continue to do while they're in the military. So his role was very, very important. And so we just thank you, Jacob. And again, he is excited to be completing his fellowship with Amazon and hoping to continue on with them as an operations manager once his fellowship is complete. Okay, everyone. I just want to give everyone, can we pause and just give everyone a round of applause and congratulate our graduates for a work well done in this program. Thank you so much. So now I just want to again thank our host companies. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you for our fellows and their participation in this program. It's been such a pleasure and a joy to get to know each one of you. It's been a pleasure to serve you, and I hope to continue to do so. I hope to continue to hear from you. And as your career develops over the years, that's one of the most exciting parts of my job is really just staying in touch with everybody. I have over almost 200 fellows in the Kansas City area. And it's just been amazing to just watch their career progression, some with their host companies, some who've transitioned to other positions, but that's just been a true joy for me. So I thank you so much. We will be having a networking event after our program concludes. And so if you go to the chat and click on that, you will see we have kind of assigned breakout rooms for each of our fellows, and they are going to be in those breakout rooms. So if you would like to copy and paste those Zoom links, you can then attend one of those rooms. You can attend multiple rooms, but we would love for you to join us after the program completes. Thank you so much, and I hope to see everyone in there. Again, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you need anything, and we'd love to continue to partner with all of you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.